You check your phone, nothing, no notification, no missed call, no, hey, lighting up your screen, and the silence feels louder than any rejection ever could. You tell yourself she's busy. You tell yourself she's different. But deep down, there's a quiet question echoing in your chest. If she really wanted me, wouldn't she reach out first? Listen carefully. When a woman never texts or calls you first, it's not random. It's not accidental. It's psychological. And if you respond the wrong way, you'll slowly train her to value you less, without even realizing it. Welcome to Female Code Unlocked. If you want to understand female psychology on a deeper level, the signals, the silence, the hidden dynamics, subscribe now. Because most men lose women not from lack of attraction, but from lack of awareness. Now let's talk about what's really happening. When she never initiates, you feel like you're chasing, like you're investing more, like you're slightly beneath her. And that feeling changes your behavior. You start texting first every time. You double text when she's slow. You overthink your words. You become hyper-aware of her mood. And without meaning to, you step into a subtle, submissive frame. Women are deeply sensitive to emotional positioning. Not just what you say, but how you move. And when she senses that you're always available, always initiating, always leaning in, she leans back. Not because she dislikes you, but because attraction breathes in tension, in uncertainty, in emotional polarity. If you remove the tension, you remove the spark. So here's the first thing you must do. Pull back, but not emotionally, strategically. Stop being the automatic initiator. Don't announce it. Don't make it dramatic. Just stop. If you've been texting her every day, skip a day. If you always send the good morning text, let the morning pass. And watch what happens. At first, she might not react. Your ego will panic. You'll want to fix the silence. Don't. Because the moment you break first, you confirm what she subconsciously believes, that you need the interaction more than she does. But when your presence becomes less predictable, something shifts. She notices the gap. And absence does something powerful in a woman's mind. It activates imagination. She starts wondering, why hasn't he texted? Is he busy? Is he talking to someone else? Curiosity is emotional oxygen. You don't create attraction by flooding her with attention. You create it by giving her space to feel your absence. Think about it like music. If every note played at the same volume, there would be no rhythm, no intensity, no anticipation, silence between the notes. That's what makes the melody unforgettable. Right now, you're playing too many notes. Let the silence speak. Now here's the second thing. When you do reach out, make it intentional. Most men text women out of boredom. What are you doing? How was your day? Safe, predictable, forgettable. If she never initiates, it might not be because she's not interested. It might be because your presence feels emotionally neutral. You need to trigger emotion. Instead of texting her randomly, text her with purpose. Invite her somewhere specific. Share something that reminded you of her. Send something that creates a reaction, not just a response. Because women chase feelings, not convenience. If every interaction with you feels the same, she won't feel the urge to initiate. But if being around you feels slightly unpredictable, slightly intense, slightly different from other men, her brain associates you with stimulation, and people crave what stimulates them. Remember this, when a woman doesn't text first, it's not always a sign of low interest. Sometimes it's a test of your emotional stability. She's watching. Does he crumble in silence? Does he over-pursue? Or does he remain grounded, calm, centered in his own life? The man who is emotionally self-contained becomes magnetic because he feels scarce. And scarcity, real scarcity, triggers pursuit. Right now, you might feel like she holds the power. But power shifts the moment you stop reacting and start choosing. And this is only the beginning. Because now we go deeper. The third thing you must do is build a life she can feel, even from a distance. When she never texts first, it often means one thing. She doesn't feel the risk of losing you. You're too available, too consistent, too predictable, and comfort without tension kills desire. You don't make her chase by playing games. You make her chase by becoming harder to access. Not emotionally cold, not rude, just occupied. When she texts you, don't always reply instantly, not to manipulate, but because you actually have things going on. Work, gym, friends, projects, purpose. A woman feels when a man's world is small, and she also feels when she's not the center of it. If your entire emotional rhythm depends on her messages, she senses it, subconsciously, and it lowers her urgency. But when your responses come between meetings, after workouts, late because you were out living, you become a man with gravity. And gravity pulls. Imagine two men. One waits for her text like it's oxygen. The other checks his phone after finishing something meaningful. Which one feels more valuable? Exactly. Now the fourth thing, and this one is subtle. Stop rewarding low investment. If she replies dry, distant, or slow, and you keep bringing high energy, long paragraphs, and emotional depth, you're training her to give the bare minimum. Energy must be mirrored. If she gives you one-word replies, you don't compensate with effort. You match her tone, not in anger, not in passive aggression, in calm detachment. When she feels the energy drop, she becomes aware of the shift. Because women are deeply intuitive about emotional changes, she will sense that something is different. And when she senses you're no longer over-investing, a question forms in her mind. Did I lose a little of his attention? That question is powerful, because attraction grows when a woman feels she might have to earn something. Men chase validation. Women chase emotional security and attention from men they value. When your attention becomes slightly less guaranteed, it gains weight. Now, here's the fifth thing. Create moments, not conversations. If you're always texting casually, you become background noise in her life. But if your communication leads to experiences, you become memorable. Instead of endless chatting, say, "Free Thursday. There's a rooftop spot I want to try. Join me." Confident. Direct. No over-explaining. You're not asking for permission to exist in her world. You're inviting her into yours. And here's the secret most men miss. When you stop trying to keep constant contact and instead create anticipation for real-life moments, she starts to value the space between interactions. Space builds tension. Tension builds desire. And desire makes her initiate. Because suddenly, she doesn't want to miss her chance. Now the sixth and most important thing. Detach from the outcome. This is where most men fail. They apply strategy, but emotionally, they're still hoping. Waiting, checking, overthinking. Women feel desperation through silence. If you pull back just to force a reaction, she will sense it. But if you pull back because you genuinely accept this truth, if she doesn't meet me halfway, I walk. That energy shifts everything. Detachment is power. Because when you truly accept that you're fine with or without her, your behavior becomes effortless. Your texts become lighter. Your silence becomes natural. Your presence becomes optional, not needy. And optional men are chosen. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. If after all this she still never initiates, she might simply not value you enough. And that's not a wound. That's clarity. Because the right woman doesn't make you question your worth. She feels your absence. She reaches out. She invests. Not perfectly. Not obsessively, but willingly. You don't want to force someone to chase you. You want to become the kind of man whose absence creates space in her mind. And when that space feels too quiet, she fills it. Now, let's talk about the part no one wants to admit. Sometimes, she doesn't text first because she knows you always will. You've unintentionally trained her. Human behavior runs on patterns, rewards, predictability. If every time there's silence, you break it, you become the emotional initiator by default. And once a dynamic is set, it becomes comfortable. But comfort is not desire. So in part 3, we go even deeper into emotional positioning. The seventh shift you need to make is this. Stop giving her relationship benefits without relationship effort. If she never initiates, but you're still giving her attention, validation, emotional support, flirty energy, compliments, late-night conversations, why would she chase? She's already receiving everything. You're watering a plant that never had to reach toward the sun. Pull back the emotional privileges. Not in bitterness, in balance. If she doesn't check on you, don't over-explain your day. If she doesn't initiate conversations, don't carry every interaction on your back. Make her participate. Because when a woman invests effort, even small effort, she becomes more emotionally attached. It's called the investment principle. We value what we work for. And right now, you might be making it too easy. Now here's something even more subtle. Your vibe when she does text matters more than when she doesn't. If she finally reaches out after you've been quiet, and you respond with overwhelming excitement. You texted, "I was wondering where you were." You lose ground instantly. Instead, stay grounded, warm, calm, slightly mysterious, as if your world kept moving whether she texted or not. Because it did. And that emotional independence? That's rare. Women are used to men reacting, jumping, over-celebrating crumbs of attention. When you don't overreact, you communicate something powerful without saying it. I enjoy you, but I don't need you. Neediness repels. Composure attracts. Now let's address something deeper. Your internal narrative. If you're constantly thinking, why doesn't she text first? Does she even like me? Am I not enough? You're placing her on a pedestal, and when you put someone above you psychologically, your behavior subtly follows. Your tone shifts. Your humor becomes approval-seeking. Your texts become slightly anxious. She feels it. Women don't chase men who feel beneath them emotionally. They chase men who feel centered. So here's the deeper shift. Stop measuring your value by her initiation. Her texting first is not a trophy. It's a byproduct of attraction and respect, and attraction grows when you're rooted in your own standards. If she never initiates and you continue engaging like nothing's wrong, you communicate, "I accept low effort." But if you calmly reduce access when effort is low, you communicate, "I expect reciprocity." And expectations create polarity. Polarity creates desire. Let me give you a real-life scenario. You stop texting for 2 days. You don't post passive-aggressive quotes. You don't try to make her jealous. You just live. On the 3rd day, she sends, "Hey, stranger." Now this is the moment most men fail. They rush back in. Don't. Respond lightly, playfully, confidently. "Hey, been a busy week. What's up?" You're not accusing, not chasing. You're steady. And that steadiness forces her to lean forward emotionally, because suddenly, the dynamic feels less certain. Uncertainty triggers pursuit. But here's the final layer. You must be okay with losing her. This is the part that separates men who get chased from men who beg. If your biggest fear is her walking away, she senses that fear, even through a screen, and fear destroys attraction. But if your mindset is, if she doesn't invest, someone else will. You move differently, you text differently, you wait differently. And she feels that difference like electricity under the surface. When a woman senses that your time, attention, and energy are valuable and not guaranteed, she starts to earn them. And when she starts earning, she starts chasing. But there's one final truth most men never face. What if she never texts first? Because she's simply not that into you? And what should you do then? That's where we go next. Now we reach the part that requires real strength. What if she never texts first? Not because she's testing you, not because she's shy, not because she's waiting for you to lead, but because her interest is low? Most men avoid this possibility. They'd rather analyze her mixed signals than accept a clear one. Silence is clarity. If you've pulled back, if you've stopped over-initiating, if you've matched energy, if you've lived your life fully, if you've created space for her to step forward, and she still doesn't, that's not mystery, that's information. And information is power, if you're brave enough to accept it. Here's the dark truth about attraction. When a woman genuinely desires a man, she finds a reason to reach out. Maybe not every day, maybe not dramatically, but she invests, she checks in, she sends that random meme, she creates an excuse to talk. Because desire hates distance. If she feels something real, she won't let the connection quietly fade. So if she does let it fade, you don't chase harder, you don't perform better, you don't become more available, you upgrade your standards. Most men think the goal is to make her chase. No, the goal is to only entertain women who are willing to. Read that again. You don't twist yourself into a strategy machine to force desire. You position yourself in a way that reveals it. If she steps forward, good. If she doesn't, you walk. And here's why that mindset changes everything. The moment you stop trying to win a woman who isn't investing, your energy becomes cleaner, lighter, more confident. Because now you're not operating from scarcity. You're operating from choice. And choice is magnetic. Think about the men women obsess over. They're not the ones anxiously checking read receipts. They're the ones who can walk away without drama. Not because they don't care, but because they value themselves. Self-respect is silent dominance. It doesn't shout. It doesn't threaten. It simply withdraws when effort isn't matched. Imagine this. You stop initiating completely, not as a tactic, but as a decision. A week passes. Maybe she texts, maybe she doesn't. But either way, something powerful happens. You realize you survived. You realize your mood didn't collapse. You realize your world kept spinning. And that realization builds something inside you that no woman can give you. Emotional independence. And ironically, that's the exact trait that makes women chase the hardest. Because when she senses you're not orbiting around her, she feels the shift in gravity. And gravity pulls. Now here's your final truth. If she never texts or calls first, it's not a crisis, it's a filter. A filter separating women who are curious from women who are invested. Curiosity watches, investment acts, and you don't want to build something with a woman who only watches. You want the one who steps forward, so stop chasing signals. Start observing patterns. Stop overgiving. Start requiring reciprocity. Stop fearing silence. Start using it. Because the man who is comfortable in silence controls the dynamic. And when you control the dynamic without controlling the person, you become unforgettable. This is Female Code Unlocked. And now I want to ask you something real. Have you been over-initiating, or are you ready to shift the energy and watch what happens next? Drop your experience in the comments. And remember, the right woman doesn't need to be convinced to reach out. She wants to.